Collectors Week 2024 for Flesh and Blood wrapped up just last week, and I wanted to give you my thoughts and opinions of what I thought about what was announced. And overall, I love Collectors Week, and I think that it's a very classy way for Legend Story Studios to just relay information and just shine a bright flashlight on the collectors in the community. I think it's a really homey type of thing. I think there's a lot of other games and a lot of other industries out there who just try to shove and hype down people's throat and just shove collectability down people's throat. But Legend Story Studios does it in a very classy way. It's a very classy way to have Collectors Week. You know, I've really enjoyed it last year and then this year. I hope it's a continuous thing, you know, for years to come. It's just a really nice way to, for 1 week, talk about collectability for Flesh and Blood and have that being shown. And then the rest of the weeks of the whole year are about the players. So let me just dive right into it, talk about the topics. The first one is the reprint policy update. So this is a really big one. So if you don't know what this is, so on the Flesh and Blood FabTCG website, there's a reprint policy tab that talks about how and what promises Legend Story Studios gives to the people who buy the products about what can and cannot be reprinted with the foil cards. This thing was completely overhauled and it made it a lot more easily digestible and understand. And not only that, but a new policy around rainbow foil cards was added and basically says, hey, we promise you guys, the people who buy Flesh and Blood products, that we will not reprint rainbow foil cards unless it's like 12 months, you know, it's in the 12-month period of when the box is released, and we can release, you know, different organized play promo rainbow foils of those cards during that period. But after that, no, you know, we're shutting it off. And overall, I think that my takeaway is that this really speaks to the spirit of collectability of Flesh and Blood. Yeah, I'm going very spiritual here, right? It's all about cards get less flashy over time. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but that is the core spirit of collectability of Flesh and Blood. Other than like other TCGs out there, right? Who just keep reprinting flashier and flashier and flashier variants, making the subsequent variants less appealing. Flesh and Blood does the complete opposite. They said, you know what? When we reprint a card in the same artwork, we're going to make it less flashy. Because, of course, players need the non-foil cards to play the game. But if you were one of the first individuals to get that rainbow foil card, that should be special. And I think that that's really what's being relayed with this policy. Now, does this really affect the market immediately? No. You know, the market didn't, you know, swing here or there. There may have been a couple people who got antsy and just, spec'd a couple places here, but it really didn't like shift the market from what I've seen, you know, over the last 5 days or so. So, I think it's just a really nice way for Legend Story Studios to say, hey, you know, we care about collectability. This is what we designed from the beginning of the game. And that's something to note, is that a lot of people, when they announce things like this, it's retrospective. It's like, okay, as of this date, we won't reprint. But they've been doing this the entire time. Legend Story Studios has not reprinted rainbow foils after they initially print them in a product. So they literally could have had this policy from the beginning of the game. And they've been having this internal policy, if you think about it, in the background doing it, but not telling the public, which is a very, very interesting thing that just they chose to do, right? And I want to get into that in a bit, but you know, the only 2 examples that I know of is the Rhinar vs. Dorinthia Classic Battles, and they noted that in the section as well. That was like one area that they did reprint it, but those cards really don't count. This is nothing crazy there. And then also, if you wanted to be really nitty gritty, really nitty gritty, you could point to the Team Covenant 0 to 60 promo that had different colors of rainbow than the rainbow in the foil, but it was still rainbow foil-esque. But other than that, man, essentially they have not reprinted any rainbow foils since the beginning of the game. And I just want to stick to the spirit of it. It's very nice because when you get a card, it's not just a bunch of extra flashy ink. There's something special around that, right? They maintain specialness because they're promising the consumer, we will not reprint that after, 12 months of that being printed in the first set. It's done. which I like. It adds a level of feeling of, hey, like this is an extra promise that they gave. And there's two rules of thinking that I think that you can have for why didn't Legend Story Studios say this way back when. One is, well, maybe they were just, testing out the market and seeing what people wanted, seeing what the community wanted as a whole, and based on, a couple loud voices and stuff, or a bunch of, community members that seemed like this was they definitely wanted to cement this in stone and put this out. Or the second school of thought is, well, maybe the community overall had to figure this out. Like, this was inherent in the game from the get-go and always was going to be, but the collectors had to, peel back the onion layers and figure out that this is what Legend Story Studios was doing. And I'm more on that mindset, but I don't know for sure. Let me know in the comment section if you guys think. Here are your options. Either A, they were just, they had planned to do this, but were testing the community and would have reprinted if so, or they had it for as a little Easter egg for collectors to find, and they were always going to release it at some point, but they wanted collectors to, notice it, right? And maybe it goes on the aspect of like, okay, here's the policy of our promises. But before we give you all of the promises, let's see you, the collectors out there. Let's see your faith in us as a brand. Your faith in us to maintain the collectability thus far over 5 years. After that point, we'll give you your promise, right? There could be a faith-based theology around there. Who knows? But that's my ramblings on the topic. Long story short, with the reprint policy, it looks a lot cleaner. I really like the write-up of it. And the second thing is the rainbow foil policy that was section that was added to the policy is really nice because it really maintains the spirit of collectability of Flesh and Blood, in my opinion, of cards get less flashy over time, and it maintains the collectability from that standpoint. I want to go into the print run numbers. So another big article, and this was on the front end of Collectors Week, which I really thought was great. Just, rip the Band-Aid off immediately, print run numbers, bam. And there's a couple ways to think about this, and I don't really want to delve into it too much because it wasn't enough information in my opinion. I think that people extrapolate these like opinions, and there's really not enough data. There's really simple spreadsheet right here. But I liked all the information that LSS provided. I don't think they had to go into any further detail. I think they did their what they should have done, which is, hey, these are the numbers by set, bada bing, bada boom. But the first thing I think people could think is, okay, people have been talking about, collectability of Flesh and Blood over the, last couple of years, and like, we are not sure if Legend Story Studios is printing way too many boxes, during the height of the collectability boom in 2021, early 2022. But then, like, did they keep over printing products, or did they course correct and do lower depending on what the market is? And this, if you look at the Fab 2.0 section, it shows that they did course correct and they did lower the amount of print run for their product. So this is positive information from that light if you want to be in that mindset. Another mindset, a secondary mindset, if you don't really understand that whole historical view, or you're just looking at it from a basic view, you say, whoa, this game first came out with like 300,000 booster boxes, and then, it slowly decreased over time, and now we're at 175,000, like a couple sets back. It looks like the player base is going down. And I think that both of these opinions are really misleading, and it's because the data set, this is not enough data, right? And I think that from, looking outside the data, one of the biggest things that you can really extrapolate from this data is James White in an interview, I think in 2023, or maybe it was early 2024, I think, said that they made approximately $40 to $50 million of revenue, right? And if you take, let's say, the last set of, one of the sets in 2023, I think it had the 175,000 or 179,000 booster boxes. Let's extrapolate that to 600,000 booster boxes, 3 sets per year, right? Let's say 200 per, and then plus incremental. And even if you add a little bit more to that 600,000 number, and then you look at the revenue of 40, let's say 40 million, let's the lower end of 40 to 50, and you divide that out, it's a pretty big number. Like, the margins on these products must be pretty freaking large. So, regardless of what the sales figures of, I mean, even printing like 200,000 boxes per year, I see a good chunk of profitability here. There's a lot of cheddar cheese in the mix here. I think that if you wanted to look in and delve into this data in any way, shape, or form, I think that's the most substantive form of data that you can do. Like, hey, how much revenue did they make? How many quantity of products did they sell per thing? Now, note, this is not accounting for like playmats or different they don't have too much apparel, but apparel or revenue from events or revenue from miscellaneous or revenue from different I don't know, whatever the heck, supplemental products and stuff, right? It doesn't account for that revenue, so you still have to put that in the mix. But still, if you're it seems like they're making a good chunk of change. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I took away. And I think it's important for everyone to realize that, Legend Story Studios is laser focused on making the best competitive game in the industry. And they've done that over the course of 5 years, compared to other corporations like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and MTG that are way bigger market shares because they're catering to adolescent youth who get different games from their birthdays and Christmases and what have you, and they're basically making a freaking toy instead of an actual gaming experience and competitive scene. And if you think about how much Legend Story Studios has really captured that market over a short period of time, it's outstanding. So that type of information, right, isn't really in the little data thing. So long story short, print run numbers were nice. You can extrapolate different theories here and there, but I think they're very misleading to the overall thing. And the only thing I think you can take from that is the revenue divided by the total amount of product. The margins are pretty damn good. So that's kind of what I wanted to say around that. Last thing I want to talk about is the Kasai Deathmatch Arena card. I think that it's nice that they ended on a note of, hey, this is us giving something to the players, but also putting something out there that collectors might want. There's only 58, I think, of them out there. And what this was, if you're listening to me in the future, is this apparently during heavy hitters, there's like this Deathmatch Arena, scoreboard of what of the heroes in heavy hitters won the most amount of tournaments. Kasai won by a pretty big margin, 58 times. And based on that, Legend Story Studios said at the end of this week that the 58 winners are going to be sent a special Command and Conquer card with Kasai alternate art mailed directly to people. And that's the gist of it. And if you won multiple times, you get multiple cards, which is pretty cool. And there's only 58 copies, which is pretty wild. The big thing I want to say for this, if you were an owner of this card, or if you were getting them, or if you know someone who's getting them, I would highly suggest keep the envelope that you get from Legend Story Studios with the card. When you're trying to sell it out into the market, it's going to be a lot easier if you have that envelope. You can remove your address, right, on the envelope. I would probably suggest doing that. And maybe have like a post-it note of what your, maybe name is, right? Or if you want, if you don't want. And say, hey, this is the tournament I won it at, to put it in the envelope, just so you have the prominence, right? Because the thing that I'm worried most about this card is it's going to get counterfeited, especially if it goes for, $800, $900, $2,000. And I'm probably way off with those numbers of estimating the cost base, the price of these on the open market. Who knows what they're going to be when there are only 58 of them. So definitely be wary of that if you're buying into them. Personally, it didn't really appeal to me, the art. But I could see a lot of Kasai fans enjoying this card and wanting a card. But yeah, the big thing is keep the envelope, and if you're buying it, I would try to see if the envelope is connected, because if you don't have that, it's hard to really understand if this is really coming from like someone who actually received the card versus a reprint from somewhere else. So that's definitely keep in mind. But overall, this whole the concept of this, I think Legend Story Studios did a cool thing. Would it be the way I would have done it? No, but I think it was well done. I think that it's a very there's a lot of flavor, right? Lots of flavor here of like, oh, there's a deathmatch arena and the winner gets the gold. The winners, which are the Kasai players in real life, get the Command and Conquer. It's good, right? We have to. I tip LSS for okay. Good job here. It's not for me, but there's going to be people who are interacting with this and enjoy it. So I think it's cool from that aspect. And yeah, I think that's about it. The only thing I really wanted to wrap up regarding Collectors Week really is the articles. The articles were very nice. I read through them. I really liked Foil Degen's articles. He was really good. There's a lot of heart in those articles. Really enjoyed it. I'll put a link down below to his channel. He opens a lot of awesome, just really high-end Flesh and Blood, collectible pieces. Whenever I see those videos, I'm just like salivating, ooh, like a kid in a candy store. But really cool guy. It's awesome to see him enjoying the game so much and reading how he has come to where he is through his collectible journey with Flesh and Blood. Yeah, so that's about it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Overall, again, I love Collectors Week. I hope to see it every year for the foreseeable future. It's a really great time. It's a really classy time for Legend Story Studios to just like put just a little warm flashlight on those communities. It's just very nice. And yeah, just to say a couple little words at the end, I think that the amount of news and information that we've received in the beginning part of 2024, the first half, has been really great regarding Legend Story Studios doing a lot of things for collectors. Last year I think there was a bumpy, stuff, and I may have been overcritical, but I love the game. I'm gonna say the good. I'm gonna say what not the bad, but things that I think could improve on and everything. But overall, the game's amazing. The people making it are the best in the business. This is the best trading card game on the market, and I'm happy to be making content for it. But it's really nice to see like certain things being released in this current time period that aren't trying to like how do you say the news and information isn't trying to like super cater to collectors, but it's just a nice like tip of the hat type of wink of the eye to collectors, like, hey, we got you, bro. So I enjoy seeing that, and I'm really happy that Collectors Week went down this year, and that a good amount of spice came from it. So that's all I have. Cheers, man. Have a good one.